Whew. All right. Teaching yourself how to code. Not an easy feat. Quite difficult, many would say. I feel like a lot of people on YouTube say in these videos, like, not gonna lie, I would have been way more productive if I had known these 3 tips before I started. But the thing is that I somehow stumbled upon these tips and thought of these tips before I started, and they made me way productive from the jump. They provided me like guardrails and sped up my whole process. Remember, you're doing this by yourself. You are the boot camp. You are the CS degree, right? So you need to figure out ways to put up guardrails, figure out how to stay productive. How do you maintain your productivity and keep yourself accountable, right? So let's talk about it. Tip number 1. All right, so when I was teaching myself how to code, I basically wrote down what's essentially like a 6-month roadmap. I actually have it right here. You can't really see it. All the pencil on this sheet is like worn out. Basically, I wrote down a roadmap of where I wanted to be in 6 months time and what I would do every single month, every step of the way in those 6 months of what I would need to check off to get there. For me, a 6-month timeline worked. For you, it might be a 12-month timeline. What really matters most is that you are listing goals down for every week and for every month so that you can physically like check those goals off. There's no better feeling to check off a goal. You should be doing these things. And I'm not talking about like putting these things on like an online web application to-do list. You can do that. But I think that there's something to be said for checking off your goals with a pen on a paper. The other point that I wanted to mention here is Parkinson's law, and that is work expands with the time allotted. So if you set out a goal of doing something like teaching yourself how to code and getting a job from 0 to 6 months, you'll get that job at 6 months. You have a better chance of staying on track by checking off those goals every period. You may be running the risk of drawing those goals out by not writing them down and notating them in some form. So oppositely, if I weren't to write it down and set those goals for myself, for me, I know that my 6-month goal might become a 9-month goal, 10-month goal. Naturally, when we don't write things down, the work ends up expanding for the time that we have allotted. When we allot ourselves more time, there's more work to be done. Okay, the second tip that I have is the Pomodoro technique. Work in focused 25-minute intervals. Some people have variations where they work in 45-minute focused intervals. The traditional Pomodoro technique is working in focused 25-minute intervals with a 5 to 10 minute break in between those intervals. Piggybacking off of my first point about this roadmap, we want to try to establish a way to actually get 6 months or 12 months worth of a timeline done, right? A good way to do this is by using something like the Pomodoro strategy. You're able to break things down into sizable chunks every single day, every single week. And the best part about it is that you get to see your progress, right? So for me, when I was studying and teaching myself programming, for every 25 minutes that I would time myself while working, when the 25 minutes was up, I would write it down on a cardboard kind of like piece of paper. I would see how much tomatoes I had written down for that 1 week. And after the week was over, I would circle it. And I kept going down line by line by line. So after 4, 5, 6 months, I was able to see a half a page, 3/4, a full page of progress. That's super motivating. Working in chunks is super powerful for that reason. You get to see your compounded interest gaining on itself, and you get to see all of the progress that you're making as time goes on. All right, the third productivity tip that I have while teaching yourself how to code. Code with others. It will make you way more productive. The reason being is that in theory, if you are coding with other people and they are a reasonably good study and coding partner, they should be keeping you accountable and you should be keeping them accountable. Accountability is really important because again, you are the CS degree, you are the boot camp. You need to provide some discipline and structure for yourself, right? What if you don't have anybody to hold you accountable? You know nobody else that codes. There's a bunch of different resources out there on the internet that are cheap and or free. One great resource that I used to use and that I still use is Pramp.com, where you can do live interviews for free with your peers. And the other resource that I highly recommend is Chingu. I never did Chingu, but I've heard really good things about it. It's this 6-week-long program where you get placed in a remote team working environment and you build a real-life project with other developers and programmers. And I'm pretty sure you can apply for free, which is great. So in summary, tip number 1, use a roadmap. It feels great to check off your goals. Number 2, Pomodoro technique. Break down the work in chunks. Notate your progress because it's super satisfying and motivating. Number 3, code with other people who are going to hold you accountable. There are a bunch of free and cheap resources out there on the internet that you can utilize. So with all that being said, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that these 3 productivity tips for you self-taught programmers are helpful and will be helpful. Comment below if you have any other tips. And as always, like and subscribe for more content. I'm super excited to post more stuff. It is the beginning of 2023. Let's get it.